So this is a carrot cake, and these are the carrots. This is the sugar. We're going to put that in our mixing bowl. And this is the butter. It's particularly yellow because, and I got a little piece that's French, but this is Spanish butter and we really love it. It's got a beautiful flavour. And I got a little blob of French butter to make up the weight. Okay. Now we're going to put our machine on. Our sugar has now been incorporated. And I'm just going to take it off the sides. And I'm going to add all the other ingredients simply because with this mixer, life is a lot easier. This is your raising agent, and I'm going to mix that in first. Going to beat my egg. Only lightly beat it. The machine will do the rest. And I'm going to add, that was my cinnamon. Cinnamon is an optional extra, but I think it makes it taste nice. I'm just going to put my egg in, some of my flour, probably about half. I'm putting the machine back on. Now I have got some lemon juice, so I'm going to add that. I'm going to add the rest of my flour. When I was a teenager and used to make cakes, you had to do all of this by hand. But with one of these wonderful machines, they existed, but they were expensive. And now everyone can own one of these. Now what you can see has happened is the mixture has gone fluffy and it's gone pale. I'm scraping off the very, very base of it because that's got the original heaviness to it. Now I have got some milk in this jug and I will be adding a small amount of that. Depending on your flour, depends on whether you need to add milk. It's not necessarily something you're going to need. You need to have a look at your mixture and decide if it's soft enough. This looks a very good consistency now. It's got the consistency of a nice butter icing. Okay. Now the rest of the ingredients I shall be adding by hand because they'll just get caught in the beating blade. Here we are. And you can see it's gone pale because it's incorporated a lot of air. Yes, you do have the chemical raising agent, baking powder, but what you've also got is the air, and that's wonderful. Your eggs will support the mixture. Right, now I want to add my nuts, my raisins, and in fact these are sultanas. They are slightly acid and very sweet. So now you've got some texture, some interest, and now we add the carrot mixture. Finally, the carrot mixture will keep the cake moist when it bakes. There we are. That's one cake made. My oven temperature is coming up, which will give us time to just talk about the possibility of what you can cook it in. I will be cooking it in this. It's got a liner that I've purchased. It fits easily. It just makes my life easy. What you could have done, you could have greased it and then with butter, put some flour in it and just shaken it around like this. So it's all covered in flour and the butter. This also works. And this would produce a cake which you can slice into even slices. It's more useful, but I always think it's not quite so nice. And if you've got not a good oven, something that's more shallow and more spread or even further spread is wonderful. My daughter uses this. She just greases it and lays everything in. And that, because it produces a shorter cake, will cook more evenly in an oven which is inclined to burn at the bottom or give a problem on one side while the inside isn't cooked. But I've got a good oven, so I'm going to be using this. It's a 20 centimeter container and it's quite heavy metal, so it will go in, heat everything fairly evenly. So it's a good one. Now we've got to get this out of here. And although it looks very carroty, and this has a high percentage of carrot, you won't know that it's a carrot cake when you eat it. Because carrots, apart from tasting sweet and juicy, don't really have a very violent flavour. You've got some cinnamon in there. You've got the lemon juice in there. If you want as an optional extra, you could have added vanilla or even vanilla essence. It'll be lovely and buttery. These spatulas are wonderful. Now, just put it in fairly evenly. Just flatten it out a little bit. This is a very good for you cake, but it has good keeping qualities because the vegetable in it makes it moist. It keeps it moist, and it's got a nice level of butter. It's a pretty good for you cake, as cakes go. Okay. There. That's ready to go in the oven. We're just waiting for it to come up to temperature. It's 150, and I shall be cooking this for about an hour, because at 150, even though it's a fan oven, it's quite a depth of cake, and you need the heat to penetrate to the middle. Okay, it's not like a chocolate brownie which you want partly cooked. You want this thoroughly cooked, and you want to give the chance to the fruit and the vegetable to soften and the flavours to amalgamate. So we'll come back when this goes beep beep and we'll put it in. As an important sideline, when you're adding a raising agent that's chemical, that will only be active for 20 minutes. I know my oven will come up very quickly, but if you only remember your oven and it takes half an hour to reach temperature after you've prepared it, that's often why cakes go flat. Also, I have seen people make their mixture up and store them in the fridge and then cook them in the evening, and they still don't rise well. You've incorporated air bubbles. You don't want those to leave. You've also got your raising agent that will be active and produce even more air bubbles. So you want to get it in the oven. And there you are. It's in the middle. I've lowered the top shelf. It'll sit there and it will stay there. I will test it after 55 minutes. This is now bouncing back. So I'm just going to check the interior. Now this is problematic because if you go through a raisin or a sultana, it's not going to come out clean, but you need to make certain it's not coming out in cake mixture. That's what you're looking for. So both indications are that this is now cooked. So we'll lift it out. So it took its full hour, but this will depend on which sort of oven you have. I'm going to let it get a little bit cool, but I'm just going to ease the side off. Which is rather a nice thing. There. Now, give it 5 minutes and then I'll stand it on a little grid. There. Done. And we'll cut it when it's cold, not now. Okay.